Boom, there we are. And it, it would be nice if we could talk about all those things live. We gotta have that conversation,
Yeah. We
on
got
back
thick.
channels.
Right. You got to be underground for that.
That's real talk. That's real
Woo,
talk.
you got to be
Well,
underground for that.
yeah, yes indeed. So, all right, so let's hang on a
Let's
second. Let me
do it.
check one thing,
Okay.
and then we can get this.
Talk
Done.
about all those things.
All right, Dayton is with us today. What's up,
What's up,
Dayton?
Daycon?
Yeah, that's cool. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started. So so this letter that not a letter, a post that people have been passing around, I
Yeah.
posted it. I thought it was, kind of funny, that
Right.
it was talking about, Congress. If a man wants to Congress with his woman, it's just talking about.
Yeah.
And for me, I thought number one, this is ridiculous and it's comedy. But then I saw all of these black women responding to it. They're mad. And they're mad like somebody's trying to smack them around today. That was weird.
It was really weird. I was actually very surprised. So, just in case we have some listeners who aren't exactly sure what we're talking about. So, on Facebook, there is an article that was extracted from a 1950 home economics book, and it's called Tips to Look After Your Husband. So it has some, again, 1950s. Okay, so let's, consider that context. So it has things like have dinner ready, prepare yourself, meaning take 15 minutes to rest, be refreshed when he arrives, touch up your makeup, those kinds of things. Clear away clutter. Make one last trip through the main part of the house and just tidy up a little bit. Prepare the children. Again, taking some minutes to wash their faces and hands and, combing their hair, change clothes if necessary.
Yeah.
Minimize all noise. Interesting. It says at the time of his arrival, eliminate all noise of washer, dryer, dishwasher, or vacuum. Try to encourage the children to be quiet. Greet him with a warm smile and be glad to see him. So there are some other things like make him comfortable, listen to him, make the evening his. The goal is to try to make your home a place of peace and order where your husband can review himself in body and spirit. So, like when I saw it, I was like, oh, okay. But I didn't think that I would see the kind of responses from Black women that I did. Like
Right.
I remember, like the one that I thought was the most ridiculous and weird is that there were several posters who said something like, "Oh, well, while you're at it, just add and let him beat me."
Right. I saw
Huh?
some of those. Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Like that's insane. And so when you look at this, so when I'm reading these responses, because I probably wouldn't have posted, actually I know I wouldn't have posted about this particular article, because it's first of all, I'm not married. Secondly, I'm not living with anybody. So I wouldn't have to really consider this right now.
Right.
But what prompted me to post about it is the responses that I saw other Black women make.
Yes.
And we all have different experiences for sure, and we all interpret things very differently, and that's influenced by our experiences. But my God almighty, the idea that we are taking something from the 1950s and we are trying to make it applicable to today's modern living, and we are interpreting it through the lens of white women, white feminism, is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
Absolutely ridiculous. And so when I responded, I had two angles. And the first angle was, okay, you do realize that this was not written for black women. So let's just say that.
Right.
Let's
Right.
just say that, okay? This was not written for black women, okay? That's number one, A. Number one, B, is think about the time period, and specifically where you probably would have seen this, is probably throughout the South. And you would know that black women were employed largely as domestics. I mean, it's really only been in the last, oh, I have to remember what year I'm in, because it's real easy to forget that you ain't in the 70s no more. You be
Okay.
like, think you be counting to 1990. You like, no, it's a little further than that. So it's real easy to forget that, okay, we're in 2022. So let's say 1980, something like that, that that black women were still largely um employed as domestics in this country.
Right.
And so that's recent history. So when you consider when this came out, right, black women were helping white women maintain their homes.
Right.
So we're sitting up here and we're reading it, and we're not even thinking about that context. All of a sudden we're taking something, and we have made it adversarial against who? Our natural mate. And it's like, again, why do we take the smallest thing and make it a point of contention with our men? We cannot keep doing that. We can't keep doing that. So
Yeah.
that was my 1A post.
Okay.
My 1B post, because I came back. I said, and another thing, right? So my 1B post is, but if you are a black woman of today and you're reading this and you think that this is for you, and you are one of these women that claim to want a traditional man, you want a provider, you want a protector, then why is it that these things that are stating to you as a woman who would want a traditional man, provider, protector, that you're rejecting the very thing that it is suggesting that you do as a traditional wife in response to a traditional husband?
Well, so that was my response, because this whole I want a provider thing from black women is pretty fucking new. And since it is new, after about 40 years of I'm an independent woman and I don't need a man, it's pretty psychotic then to hear I want a provider, but yet all this stuff that a woman would do for a provider, I'm not going to do.
It
Okay.
doesn't, it absolutely
Good luck
makes
with
no
that.
sense. Yeah, good luck with that. And it makes no sense. And what it does, sisters, and I say this from the bottom of my heart, um it really makes us look like we have no sense.
Absolutely.
Like we
Absolutely.
are like we are so irrational.
Yeah.
And I, for one, I don't want to be looked at as irrational. I don't want us to be considered irrational, right? I want us collectively, as black women who love black men, as black women who claim we love black men, and claim that we want to be in loving and whole and nurturing relationships with black men. I want us to understand that when we take on this kind of thinking, right, it makes us look irrational, and it's
Absolutely.
quite contrary to what we say we want.
That's right. Yeah.
And that in itself continues to create this issue, this chasm between black men and black women. There's like something that's always contributing to this chasm. And the thing that we have to understand about this chasm is that it's manufactured in the first place.
That's real. That's real.
It's manufactured in the first place. We, like sisters, do we not know our history? At one time, we were the most likely to be married.
Yes.
That changed on in less than two generations.
That's right.
And less than two
That's
generations.
right.
You look up 1960s, we're still holding on to that. By the time 1980s hit, it's gone. It's gone, and
Gone.
it's gone, and with a vengeance.
Yeah.
You
Gone
know,
to the point where now we're not sure if it's coming back.
it's
Can
we're
we
not
bring it
right.
back?
We're not sure that it's, and we have altered, right, our very own family structures
Yes.
and all of the surrounding narratives that talk about black families. We are so far away about talking about being black and married that we have so many more extended family, and and families come in this, we're buying into that. And don't get me wrong, I believe in extended family. I grew up in an
Sure.
extended family. I know the
Yeah.
importance of that. That is so African centered. That's
Absolutely.
important, right?
Absolutely.
But see, what we're talking about is, you know extensions that are absent of black men. That's what we are seeing more often.
Right.
When you start looking at the statistics about who's, the heads of households, and unfortunately, the majority of our households are led by black women. And I say unfortunately because what that indicates, sisters, is that we are not partnered.
Well, and so let me say this, because I know there's a lot of blame to go around. Everybody got some blame they can sprinkle in here, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
But the reality of it is, wherever we place the blame, it is really imperative that we start to fix it, because black women are suffering the most while they're blaming the most.
Well,
I
right.
mean, we talked about the suffering Olympics
Mhm.
before.
Right.
I mean, they're hurting the most because now there are more black women over the age of 40 than ever before who are unmarried and with no children. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, so we're hearing all of this. Oh, I can grow old and be alone and blah blah blah. Shut up. That's a lie. And it's a lie for anyone who says it, because as we get older, we need companionship.
We
As we get
absolutely.
older, you don't want to be alone in your house by yourself. Okay, you got a house, you got whatever, but you're by yourself with some health concerns. You fall and hit your head, check out, because nobody's there. So I mean, we got to stop. Sisters got to stop saying that they're okay being alone, because that isn't natural. So all of this propaganda, all that they've been, black women have been listening to and throwing at black men, we've just been watching. I mean, people want to say, oh, men are doing blah blah blah. Yeah, men, white, black, whatever. Men have been doing the same goofy shit that they've been doing. And we do some goofy shit, but it has been pretty much the consistent goofy shit that men do.
Right. Right.
All of the new shit is the stuff that black women are saying and doing. I mean, I'll just say one that's problematic if you want to be married and get a provider and be at home and be well taken care of. Yeah, man, stop bending over, busting it open at will on the bus stop, at your son's graduation, at the club. You want to climb on a table, at on the bar, at the restaurant. You want to climb, on the tables in the booth and bend over and bust it open. I'm sorry, that's not who black women are. That's some very new abomination
Yeah,
shit,
it is. You know what? I'm so glad you used that word because it feels
because it
like an
is.
It does. It feels like an abomination. It
Rosa
looks
Parks
like,
didn't bust it open.
you
We we
know,
ne- we never saw Shirley Chisholm's nipples.
Fannie Mae's bra straps as
Oh.
decorations. Like,
Sojourner Truth did not bend over and bust it open.
this is not what we. This is not us. It's not us, and we're being. I saw a very interesting a very interesting podcast today, and this brother, I think his name is Katie Signifier. Very interesting podcast. And so what he was talking about was how we as a society have to stop fetishizing Black men.
Mm.
And one of the points that he made was about how music has music and our culture expressed through music, right, has contributed to or shaped how we view Black men. But in addition to that, what he said is prior to hip hop, right, Black men still largely had agency over their images.
Yes.
They still had control
Yeah.
over how they wanted to present themselves.
That's right.
And so what he said is, as much as he's a hip hop lover, he feels like hip hop music interrupted that, because then the only thing that they wanted to see, that and the image that white people largely buy into, is this image of this hyper masculine, dude who
Yes.
exercises his masculinity, his manhood through dominating, right? And so they're
Everything.
everything, not just
Yeah.
women, but everything.
Well, it's the
Other
two F's. It's the two F's. They dominate through fucking and fighting.
exactly. Yes, yes. Right? So he was talking about that, but when I was listening to that, it also occurred to me that if that's true for Black men losing agency over their how they present their masculinity, how they present their manhood, even how they express their sexuality, right?
Mhm.
It occurs to me that it's possible, maybe even likely, that the same thing happened for Black women. We
Oh,
are
absolutely.
no longer in control of this
Yeah.
image
Yeah.
of ourselves.
Oh
And
yeah. No,
so,
it's both.
yeah.
It's both.
And so all we see now is everybody twerking,
Yeah.
everybody showing their ass,
Literally.
everybody's at, at yes, yes,
Yeah.
everything's hanging out. There's no modesty. There's no such thing as being a lady. Like that's laughed upon. A lady, ha 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 ha. You know, fuck
Right.
that. Like it's like it is such an abomination. And the idea that we don't even understand how we got here. And it's like, it reminds me of how when we see the history books changing in, you know godforsaken states like Texas, where they now put in the textbooks that the enslaved were involuntary laborers.
Helpers.
Yeah, they're involuntary laborers, involuntary helpers, or I saw one where they said involuntary immigrants, right?
Right.
So you fast forward when this textbook ages, assuming that becomes a permanent fixture, right? It ages in 25 years. When that generation hits kindergarten and they grow up and they get that textbooks, they will have no knowledge that this is some bullshit.
Yes.
They will have no knowledge of self in relation to how we actually got here and what that looked like. And I feel like that's similar to what has happened with Black women and our images of ourselves. We don't
Right.
we don't know ourselves before we were busting it open, like you said, and on stage and humping floors, and we don't
Everywhere.
everywhere. We don't
Everywhere.
know ourselves, and so we
And
have
yeah.
to, yeah, we have to really have that conversation. So going back to this article, we used to be the most likely to be married. Our children used to be the most likely to be raised in a two-parent household. And so much of that has, it's not just changed, I mean, it has turned on its ear.
Yeah.
And so now we continue to add to that narrative every time we pick a fight, every time we make something the fault of black men. All we're doing is parroting what we hear feminism say. And the sad part about that, a sad part about that, is do we actually as black women think that white women are going home telling their men this foolishness?
Not at all.
Because like it doesn't even make sense. They're
Yeah.
men, they birth and raise men who grow up to oppress the world. You gonna tell the oppressor, nah, I ain't cooking your dinner tonight. Like, I'm not, nah, dude, you gotta
That's
do
not
that
happening.
yourself. It's
It's not
not
happening.
happening.
Yeah.
It's not happening. And she understands, because this is aside from marrying, the part that really gets me about white women's relationship to white men that we don't understand, who do we believe that those white men are being nurtured by?
Well, see, and again, I'm probably going to say it every show. Dr. Neely Fuller said that if you don't understand white supremacy, everything else
They
will
also
confuse you.
confuse you.
And so a lot of people are confused because we've gotten to the point. So let me back up a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'm gonna back up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
so as far as hip hop is concerned, I'm currently putting together a coffee table book. This year's the 30th anniversary of the second largest hip hop publication in the world, which was also the only one that's black owned, Rap Sheet, my publication. So we're doing the coffee table book, and I'm looking at
That's cool.
how, yeah, it was beautiful. But I'm looking at how when we first started, I was doing all of this marketing with Sprite and bringing all the hip hop artists to Sprite and all the stuff that was in the commercials we saw in the early 90s. I was working on all that stuff. And one of the things we used to always say in every meeting, when I would go to these corporate meetings, we talk about how black culture dictated popular culture.
Everything, yes.
Before the end of the 90s, popular culture was now creating a twisted version of black culture that they would then use to dictate popular culture again. So it was
Mm-hmm.
circling. So they basically took who they wanted us to be, who they decided we were, what they decided our
Yes.
culture was, mixed up some bullshit and threw it back at us. And we were like, no, this is good. This is good. So the dudes, just trying to keep it balanced, the dudes are retarded because they're running around with their asses hanging out, which is prison bitch behavior. And now you got everybody, and the women are busting it open, which is stripper prostitute behavior. But all of the weird and crazy people who don't think for themselves are out there following thug culture. So that's why you get somebody mad. Oh, you don't know who you talking to. Oh,
Right.
what? Oh,
Yeah.
fuck that. I'll whoop you. And I've observed the last probably 10 years, the road rage is worse in general. But I've observed little tiny petite, absolutely gorgeous, beautiful, sweet black women who are quick to tell you, I'll jump out this car, whoop your ass.
Yes.
And then,
Yes.
5'11" dude who's not a tiny man, all I could do is laugh. But all of this, to keep from crying, all of this is perverting us. And then, so now to come back to black women, you were doing this. You are a thug now. You are a prostitute stripper because you bend over and bust it open, but then you're still coming to us, to the good and decent and kind brothers, and saying, I don't want to work, so I need a provider and a protector.
Which
No,
is insane. It's
no.
so it's just so it's so insane. And as you said, we ate it up, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're still lapping it up. Like I remember, I still have not listened to the whole song. So full disclosure, that WAP song, I
Oh,
still have, yeah, I still haven't listened to it. But what I did find very interesting are the different women that were like, oh, well, these are modern women, and and it's this and it's that, and I'm going,
Well, I'll tell you the most disturbing person who likes that song, Maxine Water. You're supposed to be an elder stateswoman. They're calling you Auntie Maxine. You are 80 years old. You're talking about your WAP? First off, it ain't wet, it's dusty. So it's a dop. Let's start there. I mean, you 80. You 80, Auntie Maxine. No one wants to hear about anything related to your genitals. Are you fucking insane? Yes, she's insane. And so those are the things those are the markers to let you know
Well,
that
yeah,
we've lost our
we
minds.
have lost our minds, and I think even taking it a step further is that anything that Black women want to do, anything that we venture out and say, look at me, anything that comes to mind, whatever whim, is acceptable
Yeah.
from, one Black woman to another.
Yeah.
And 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 I really think that Black women are at a very much so at a place of sort of what I would call, puffing our, posturing. Who's gonna check us?
Right. Who gonna check me, boo?
Who gonna check me? And it's really, really, it's really sad when I think about this idea of how we looked at this article, which, in this day and age, everybody who looked at it, if you didn't look at it as purely a joke, then if you gave it any credence, then you should have read at least to the, because there's always a trick question, on the test, like
Yeah.
when you trying to read the book and you don't read the book, and then on that last page, what was that? The pursuit of happiness. He had turned it over or something like that, and there was a question there. There's always something else, further at the bottom to read. So if you
That's right.
if you go all the way to the bottom of the article, it says the goal, and I read this earlier. Try to make your home a place of peace and order where your husband can review himself in body and spirit.
Mm.
Who doesn't want that for their man? Who does not? Especially
Unfortunately,
especially a Black man, understanding that every day that he leaves your house, there is a chance that he will not come back. And not because we understand that all of us are on borrowed time. We all have accepted that, right?
yeah. Yeah.
But there is something else that is happening to Black men because they are Black men. And
That's
we
right.
can't escape that. We can't ignore it, right? That's real. Whenever my sons leave my house, I say two things: I love you, be safe.
Yes.
Those are
Yeah.
the two things. I don't care if he going to walk the dog. I love you, be safe.
Yeah.
And so the idea that we don't look at this article, we take it seriously enough to then internalize it and then externalize some trash onto Black men. Oh, well, just tell them how to beat me. Like
Right.
like you just like he's just been given a manifesto and whatnot, right?
Right.
So we take it seriously enough to do that, but we don't take it seriously enough to even take out that nugget. And that's such a powerful, powerful thing. Like, that's so African centered. This idea
Yes.
of creating peace, this idea
Yeah.
of rejuvenating in mind and spirit. Y'all think, and the more I read this, I'm like, white people always stealing our stuff, man. They
Always.
always stealing our
That's what they
stuff.
do. Which
You know,
which was okay initially because we were just sharing.
right.
But to have them steal it, call it their own, and then twist us up so that now we don't want it anymore.
I'm
You
thinking to
know.
myself, this is stuff that she saw you do with your children, right?
Hmm.
These are
Yeah.
things that she knew that you did for your husband. That's why they had us back in their homes working. That's why that was an ordinance, right?
Yes.
So, like, we don't even recognize who we are. even in this scenario, we're so focused on this idea that there has to be this contention that we have to it's almost like we have to always make sure that there is an eternal flame under this contention. We can't
Yes.
just let it
Yes.
burn out. We
Yeah.
can't
And
just let it burn out.
right. And again, the whole rope a dope was so complete 360 degrees because everyone knew in the 50s and 60s that black women were the standard
The
bearers of our
standard
morality.
of morality.
We were able to do and say things on the world court because people knew across the world, you messing with black women? That's why it was a thing. And we even to this day we show more concern and potentiality to for violence over things that you might say about our mamas. Your
Right.
mama, woo woo woo, and we ready to fight. Your father, whatever.
Yeah, okay.
you
Yeah.
know, yeah, whatever. Oh, it's Mother's Day. Yes,
Yeah.
Father's Day. Here's some socks, man. Be
Right.
good.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And all of that was okay because black women were again the standard bearers of morality for the entire nation. So to go from that to I'm not going to pretend it's only black women. I mean, women in general are screwed up. I mean, you got white women out here knowing damn well there was no genetic evolution, and now all of them got ass. They're going risking their
Mm-hmm.
lives to get the BBL, so
Yeah.
they're
Right.
sick and psychotic too. And it
Yes.
ain't the first
Absolutely.
time because they were wearing bustles, which were snapping and breaking them and doing all
Yeah.
kind of wild shit to them
Right.
back in the day.
Rearranging their innards. You know.
Yes. So that they could pretend that they had the black woman's
Mm-hmm.
body. So I mean, it's
Mm-hmm.
it's awesome, sick shit. But to see black women, it's almost. I keep saying it. It's almost over because
Right.
it's
Yeah.
been some of us, and of course, it's not all of us, but some of us. Denise, I don't recognize some of us. I just don't.
You almost brought a tear to my eye. Like seriously, I had to twitch a little
Hey,
bit there because that's real. You know,
yeah.
that's real. Like I think about who our foremothers were.
Ooh, ooh.
You know, I mean, I had an opportunity to my family was sending me pictures. I'm still supposed to be making this blanket for my grandmother. And so they found all these pictures of my grandmother when she was younger. And you know, first of all, just I just need to say this to the world. I've said it before, but now I have an opportunity to say it, you know, on a platform. I have always thought that my grandmother was the most beautiful woman I ever laid eyes on.
I know
I,
that's right.
I still believe that.
Yeah,
I still believe that. And
yes, indeed.
my grandmother turns 98 this year. Um,
Ooh,
but just always stately.
yes.
And they didn't have a lot at all.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
they did not have a lot at all. But it was
yeah.
just in the way that, you know, she carried herself. You know, it was in the way that she wanted the world to
To view her.
view her, right?
Yeah,
And there was very much so pride for her in being chosen by a black man
yes,
and
yes.
being his partner,
Yeah, see,
being
and
his wife,
yes.
being the mother of his children.
Yeah,
You know, it's a
yeah,
lot of pride in that. And my grandma, I mean, and when I think about the things that, ha- and I'm not saying that these were the smartest decisions necessarily, but I understand why my grandmother did some of the things that she did because she was so crazy about her husband, my grandfather.
yes. Yeah.
So, you know, it was like, yeah, we probably should fill out those forms for the free lunch, but nah, because I don't want anybody thinking that my husband can't provide for us.
Mm.
Yeah, we're gonna have beans again, y'all. Sorry. Like,
Right.
you know, my poor aunts. You know, this is true story. I have one of my aunts, one of my mother's oldest sisters, refuses to eat beans. She said she has eaten enough beans to last her 2 lifetimes, so she
Two
will
life.
not eat. She will not eat beans. But
Yeah.
that's my grandmother had to figure out as the homemaker. Well, what are we gonna put on the table to feed these children? Because my grandfather was not a professional man. He was not an educated man, right? He was a learned man, and
Yeah.
he went out and he worked every day. And I've said this before about the jobs that he had to piece together. But there's this sense of pride, um, about being a black woman, but also about having a black man. And
Yes.
when I feel like when we look for ways to create contention with black men, when we look for ways to point the finger at black men, when we look for ways to say you are deficient, then to me that a um there is a divestment, an
Yes.
emotional divestment, an intellectual divestment. And we may still be talking about, well, I want to be married, and I want to be married to a black man, but we're and it may not be marriage. It may be, partnered up, or just whatever works
Just
for,
booed up.
yeah, booed up, whatever, right? Whatever works for you. But you know sisters, it cannot happen for us, and I'm not speaking individually, but as collectively, we cannot expect these things to happen for us if we are making black men the enemy. And so, like I said, when I saw the response to this article and this is what black women were saying, I was like, you gotta be kidding me.
Hmm.
We just,
Hmm.
every little thing,
Well,
every little thing. And we
yeah,
don't investigate. We don't investigate.
that's right. That's right. Well, and the thing is, I mean, it's shit. Infiltration 101. You trying to damage a community, you go through the woman. And so
Yes.
that's why we
Yes.
see more propaganda that's targeted at the black woman than the black man.
Oh yeah.
Physically, they're taking us out, by shooting us like dogs in the street, but they're doing the division thing by giving all of this poisonous propaganda to black women who are just soaking it up, but not really realizing it's hurting them more than it's hurting us, more than it's hurting anyone, because they're the ones who are still saying, oh, I want a man, I want a man, I want a man, I want a protector, I want a provider, but then doing all the things that assures that they won't get it. When
Mhm.
I go on a date with a woman, she starts telling me how horrible black men are. I imagine myself pixelating and, floating away.
Floating
Because,
away. Yeah.
like, I'm not going to listen to that crap. But at the same time, because I know how beautiful, regal, and all the other good stuff that the women in my family are, and that, the majority of the women that I've loved, were just beautiful human beings, I can't accept a funky ass hoe. I can't. I can't
Right.
accept a woman who would listen to a song and not be disturbed that starts out saying, there's some hoes in this house.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's some hoes.
Yeah.
Let me piss off the AKAs right now. I'm not picking on them, but this was a cold example. A few years ago, we were at their national convention. These are doctors and lawyers. These are the
Mhm.
talented 10th. Just beautiful. Just, look like God just, chiseled them and boom. I mean, just Lord, have mercy, right?
I know. Just
And
told you how much he loved black men, brothers. This is how much I love you. I'm gonna create this just for you.
right, right. But when that filthy demon Cardi B's song came on, the floor filled with all these sisters who knew every single word from the beginning. Little bitch, you can't fuck with me if you wanted to. And I'm standing there, I'm a proud alpha man. I got friends who are Qs and Kappas, and we were standing there, and one of the Qs was joking with me. He was like, this is your fault. You alphas were supposed to lead. Y'all didn't lead. This is your fault. I'm like, I'm like, nah, brother, you ain't gonna do that to me. The three of us, the alphas, kappas, and
Ooh,
the Qs. No, we're all leaders. So you're not gonna just put.
wow.
But
Yeah.
we were joking, but it was sad.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they were all twerking, busting it open, and that's when I knew. I was like, we have lost our goddamn minds. And they didn't care. You can't talk to them and say, "Oh, sister, you can't." Man, they will light your ass up. They have the right to twerk, bust it open, and for people to look at them as hoes and strippers, and they have the right. And I think that that's where we're in trouble because we can't talk to each other anymore.
Right. We cannot talk to each other. We're not hearing each other. Um, and I have to say, you know, we even have to be careful about how we even couch that, because if we are honest, black men, you all have, you've taken it on the chin, all the things that we said about, I mean, I used to think that, excuse the language, I used to think that niggas ain't shit was just like, I was like, is this a proverb or something?
Yeah,
Because that's,
because it was
like,
used so
so it
prolifically.
was, it
Yeah,
was. And I'm
yeah,
going, wow. I
yeah.
mean, and maybe I sidestepped that because of, the growing up with my uncles, and then having, two boys. My sons were my first two children, and then, then I had the daughter.
Yeah.
um and I was 22 when I had my older son, and so I'm still young and impressionable, and young and impressionable in the sense that, all I have are eyes for this little boy. And
Yeah.
and I'm trying to understand, well, what does the world think of him? Because, see, I think he is the bomb diggity. I
Right.
think he is like the best thing since sliced bread. You can't tell me that that there's anything better, like not even ice cream.
Right.
Like, this is
Indeed, sister.
right, this is
We see
sunshine. What
you.
do
We see
what are we
you.
talking about? And then to
Yeah.
know that there are people, and there are forces in the world that see him as less than sunshine, like, that. And so where I'm going with this is, black men have taken it. You have taken it from, and this is why we've said this before. This has contributed to the development of this manosphere, because men have taken it on the chin. You all have taken everything,
From everybody.
from everybody. All the media stuff that that we put out, all the literature, all the movies,
Yes.
like, you all took it. You took it on the chin.
Yeah.
And so now you aren't anymore, because you shouldn't have to. But, and as black women, we have to ask ourselves, why are we continue, like, even if we wholeheartedly believe the stuff that we have been spouting for the last 40 years, why is it that we cannot give each other enough grace to say, well, at least let me listen?
Ooh.
Like,
Yeah.
we get, and I'm real big on this thing about giving grace to black people, because we give it freely to everybody else.
How about that? Well, my favorite phrase these days is, you've heard it, so you know it, is it's almost over. So I'm going to qualify that. I do think it's almost over. I think we're at the end of everything good, and it's going to get ugly. But the beauty is that we will be the phoenix that rises from the ashes, right? Because that's what Black people do, especially foundational Black Americans. That's what we do. We keep getting up because that's who we are.
Hmm.
And I think, and I'm going to say this, and I know people are going to misinterpret it, but I don't really give a damn. I'm hoping another Republican, maybe even Donald Trump, comes in the next election. We know it ain't gonna be Biden. We know it ain't gonna be camel toe. And the reason why I'm thinking either that or a really psychotic Democrat, because until we get to the point where things are so bad that we can no longer tolerate it, we're going to continue to tolerate it. So I need things racially to get bad, just really to the point where we just say, and it's not going to really be us, you and I, Denise, it's going to be our children
Mm-hmm.
who are gonna, because those are the ones who are tired. Those are the ones who are telling the Democrats kiss my ass. Those are the
Mm-hmm.
ones who are,
Right.
out there making it happen as far as trying to understand what they should do next. They know that they can't come to a lot of us because a lot of us are scared biatches, male and female bitches. So they
Right. Right.
know that.
Right.
So they're gonna find their own way, and that's gonna be our salvation. And those of us who are over 40, over 50, who understand and who are aware, our job is to shut the fuck up and support them.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
I think that
so
what we have to do is one, we got to shake loose our attachment to white supremacy.
mm,
Um,
mm-hmm.
I saw a tweet by Bishop. Is it Bishop Talbert? I think it's Bishop Talbert.
I don't know.
I have to look it up. But anyway, his tweet said he referred to feminism. No, he referred to white evangelicism to uh, white supremacy and trans, and then he referred to feminism as white supremacy and heels.
Mm, okay.
We need to let go of all of these relationships that we have with white supremacy.
Yes. Yes.
And starting with feminism,
Mm-hmm.
it's not our friend. Like, it has gotten us so you know off kilter that we can't even
Discombobulated.
it we are so discombobulated that we can't even take this simple extract from a 1950 home economics book and understand what's on the page.
Right.
Right, we didn't we made it about black men controlling us. I mean, the idea that somebody would say, "Oh, just tell them how to beat me." Like, where are we? Where are we? Like,
Yeah.
where are
Look,
we?
we're in a place where we don't even see each other anymore. One of the phrases we used to use, people don't understand how much power there is in a lot of our slang. The
Oh,
whole
it's a
idea,
no, yeah.
yeah,
It's a language.
it's a language. The whole idea that you could vibe with somebody, I feel you. I feel your vibration because we vibrate higher. The whole thing where we used to actually look at each other and go, I see you. I see you.
I see
It was
you.
an acknowledgement because others don't see us, but we see each other. So all of
Yes.
those things we've gotten away from so much. And again, whether it is my theory that we're about to hit rock bottom and have no place else to go but up, or if you want to look at physics, because we're a system. And we learned in physics that every system is self correcting.
Yes. Yes.
We
Yes.
are a system, and at some point we will self-correct because we've been through bullshit before,
Hmm.
where we had some real wild. That's why I think it's funny when people are like, oh yeah, well back in the 30s they were making these songs that were blah. Yeah, because we were going through some shit. We were coming up out of depression. A lot of us were half fucking crazy, so we were out there doing some wild, and getting sexual and and buck wild, but we corrected ourselves.
We
And I
corrected
think we can
ourselves.
correct ourselves out of this, but it's got to be a situation where, and I hate to say this, but a lot of people now who are in their 40s and 50s need to just ease on down the road.
He's on down the road. He's
Just
on
moving
down.
on down the line.
Just me. It's funny about
Just
the
saying.
correction, because I mean, we can look at the sort of the evolution of jazz, and we can take um, extract some parts where we saw so many of our just absolute geniuses, right?
Yeah.
Take on some really, really unfortunate behaviors, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, when you look at individual stories, it's really sad.
Yeah.
Um, and so we've seen some of those behaviors kind of correct themselves. Like
That's right.
that's not necessarily associated with the art per se
Right.
anymore.
Right.
But even in that phase, black men and black women always had each other, and they knew they always had each other, and they always turned to each other.
That's right.
And so that's what makes this correction, this course correction that's needed, very different,
And
um,
dicey.
and dicey,
Yeah.
and it is what makes you go,
Yeah.
how are we gonna get out of this?
You're right.
How are we gonna get out of this?
Well, the
So
biggest thing is integration did us so dirty because it had us, eating that whole delusion, the illusion of inclusion. And, I mean, so, a perfect example is, black women thinking that black men are participating in patriarchy when we getting shot in the goddamn street. That's the illusion.
yeah,
There's no inclusion. There's the illusion when you hear black women say, "Oh, we're being forced to date white men." But they're not being forced to date you. So again, the illusion of inclusion, I mean, you hear people trying to force some concepts and ideas that really don't make any sense. Pretending, for example, that Camel Toe is going to be some black savior. She loves black people. Oh, ski wee, she went to Howard. When she probably hates us more than white racists do because she's a racist. And she showed it. And we're still, and Joe Biden, I mean, he's almost dead now, but, when he was running for presidency, I mean, he is, he's a little half dead, they inject him with his zombie juice
mhm,
every morning and push him
mhm,
out on the world stage, but he's gone, baby. But, when he said, vote for me or you ain't black. And, all the coons were hee. But I wasn't because I'm like, I don't let white people talk to me like that. If he said that in my face, I'd be in jail because I slapped the shit out of him. Like, who
yeah,
do you think you talking to, bitch, motherfucker? You know what I'm
right,
saying? Like,
right. You don't get to,
period.
yeah, you don't
Yeah,
get to
you don't
do
get to
you.
play
You
with me
can you
like that.
define some stuff, but you can't define my blackness. You
That's
don't.
what you can't do.
That's
Not
what you
as a
can't
big
do.
head bad breath stink machine. You can't do that. So the fact that we think that we belong, that we are in there, that we've arrived, that the fact that a lot of these brothers are thinking, yeah, we just need to support the Democrats and everything will be okay. No, it's because you're scared to do anything else, bitch. These male bitches are doing that because they're afraid to do anything else. And then these women who are out here letting anybody tell them, yeah, you're the backbone of the black community. You holding the black community. You saved the Democratic Party. Really? So black women saved your Democratic Party, Joe Biden, but you can't do nothing for
You
us.
can't do nothing for us.
You can't
Nothing for
what?
us.
Like really? Nothing? Black women stroll to the pole with their chucks and pearls, and you said it. Yeah, we owe y'all, but you won't pay.
Tom Perez said that shit too. Excuse my language, but he said that too. And I can't,
Yeah,
he's a Maryland um politician. He started out here, and he actually had some sense when he first began on the political scene here. And then he got a little bit of taste of power, and the
lost his mind.
DNC, and they knew, oh, we got us one. In fact,
Mhm.
they didn't. I don't even think they had to promise him much to, to get him to just be this. He's just. But let me tell you how sickening I find, him as a politician, and his pandering. So I went to the polls, to vote locally. I was like, I'm not even worried about half of the people on the ballot because I don't care. It's a bunch of white men, and you all are some lackluster racists, all of you. You can't even hide it. So, I'm gonna let white people fight it out. Y'all figure out who you're gonna put in office. Um, so I had some
That's right.
very specific, positions that I was looking to vote for. But anyway, this guy walks up to me with some literature. Can I talk to you about, Tom Perez? I said, absolutely not. And I
Right.
pushed, I didn't push him, but I, just moved my hand like, get out of my way. Like, you can
That's right.
talk to me about a lot of things, but you can't talk to me about him. And so this
Yeah.
is, and I'm bringing him up because what was it at the last Democratic convention? No, there was some major election. I think it was the one in North Carolina
Mhm.
when they had that it was the pedophile that was running against that piss poor Democrat,
Mhm.
and so they had that special election, and so 90, I want to say like 95% of black women voters came out or whatever and voted.
Yeah.
And they made a bit, it might have been even something like 97, and then they made a big deal about it, and then they didn't say that 93% of black men who
They don't
voted
say that
voted.
part.
I'm like, what the hell difference is it between 97 and 93? Like, I just want to know. So
When
he
you have an
gets
agenda,
right. So he gets on the world stage, or national stage, and he's talking this bullshit about black women and how, again, black women have been the backbone of the Democratic. And I'm just like, I just feel just like y'all just gonna keep using us. But not only that, we gonna let y'all keep using
I was
us.
about to say, if you sign up to be used,
You gonna
then you
just
can't
keep
be surprised when they
you
keep
just
using
gonna
you.
you just and then we don't you didn't said this, everybody done said this, and we can't get anything. We can't even get protection for our children.
How about that?
We can't even get protection for our children.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
that's you know, like, you should be able to trust. You've given them what they wanted. You put them in office, and so
And
you
you
mean
get
to tell
nothing.
me that, and you don't get anything? We don't even get anything for our children.
Well, it's got to stop because it continues. That was the whole thing with, let's push this evil bitch, Hillary, out there because otherwise the Republicans are going to put us back in slavery. Well, shit, Hillary wants that too because she's an evil bitch,
Oh my
so
God.
she is. That's a
She
rat bitch.
you know what, between her and her brother and them just going around
Ooh.
the world sucking up resources, how the
Well,
hell they went over in Haiti?
but that's what they do. That's what she's about. So yeah, so for the Democrats, they gotta at some point the black Democrats gotta understand. Stop pushing the shit down our throat. Stop trying to scare us. I'm not scared of Trump. I'm not scared of whoever else they may trot out. I don't give a damn. I'm a black man. Unless you shoot me, I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna keep rising. I'm about to make some money because that's my revolution. Make some money. Make sure my people are getting theirs, and then we can get out there and deliver the messages we need to deliver. And that's regardless of who's in office, because neither one of them, I don't expect either one of them to do anything for me. So when people say, oh, you don't like Biden, you must like Trump. No, moron. Fuck them both.
Both. you
Both.
know if we were to, and it's interesting because I actually think that, because black men, the data will show, are, more conservative in their politics than are black women. Black women are definitely liberal, very liberal, and we're so damn liberal that we're telling black men that if you don't date a trans woman, you are homophobic. That's how liberal. That's how liberal black women are, right? So
Crazy.
black men are very conservative, and yet what I find very interesting is like when you go back and you look at the different commentary about voting. There's always someone who's writing, why won't black men just listen to black women? Why won't black men just follow black women? Nobody is ever saying, well, black men have been traditionally conservative, which is not unlike white men. We know I don't give a shit if the devil, and I'm speaking specifically Satan himself and not necessarily his spawns, because we know his spawns have been in office.
That's right.
But I'm saying if Satan himself, Lucifer, and and whatever his government name
Mm,
whatever his government name is, if he's in office, we know if he's running, that we know that the majority of white men are going to pull the lever for him. That's
period.
just what the data
What it
says.
is.
It
Yes.
is what it is, right? So nobody ever looks to white men to try to change their mind about voting because they already know who they vote for, right?
Right.
And because they already know that, they give them exactly what they want, right?
That's it
That's what
is.
they do.
Yeah.
That's what they
Yeah.
do.
That's what they
So
do.
now here you have black men where the data shows that you all are more conservative voters, and that has been a trend since forever. And yet nobody is ever saying, well, you know what? Let's listen to black men. Let's, I mean, and we have to do a show on this. Um, Roe v. Wade.
Cool.
It's
Yeah.
not a bunch of black men that's out there. Let me backtrack. It is not. We should not expect that there is a sweeping number of black men who are out there saying, "Yeah, I'm all for abortion. I think women should have abortions."
Right.
It's not that simple, sisters. It's not that simple.
Yeah.
And yet, we don't want to hear from them. And why is that? Like, this is something that we should be talking about with each other.
Right.
Whatever you feel about the status of a fetus, life, all that other stuff. I mean, I as a mother, I thought the moment I got the pregnancy test back, that's just me.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why you work so hard to, like, you know do the things that because you were dealing with this life that you want to sustain, because the issue isn't whether it can be sustained or not. That's like trying to say, oh, well, I planted something and I'm gonna take it out and hope that it grows anyway out the ground. Like, it's not finished. Like,
Right.
right? So
Right.
it's
Yeah.
not supposed to be sustainable at that stage. So the sustainability, which I've seen, that sustainability piece is ridiculous. It just absolutely makes no sense. That should not be, criteria for whether or not it's a life.
Well,
But the
that's
point,
why you gotta go ahead and put that piece together. Let's do that show
yeah, we got to
on
do that
on
show.
on Roe v. Wade.
Yeah, and
You
so
know.
we got to be able to. Those are the kinds of things that we should be talking with each other about. And yet, the only conversation that black women are having is with other white women, where we're standing in solidarity, talking about this is an issue of women's rights. No, it is not. Stop
Right.
fooling yourself. It is not about women's rights. They bring us on board to make it seem like it's about women's rights. This is about white supremacy. They don't
Exactly.
care if they don't care if we birth babies, if we kill babies. If they don't care, why would they ever care? They were killing our babies, using them for
Still are.
alligator bait. Like,
Yes.
why would
Yeah.
you ever care? They
Yeah.
snatched our babies and sold them off. Like, why would they now care about our babies?
Right. Well,
Either
that's why.
either way, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, well, that's why, again, we have to learn how to look and really understand what we're looking at, how to pay
Yes.
attention and understand what's really going on, and
Yeah.
not take our cues from other communities, because that's just not going to work. That's
Yeah,
just not going to work.
they're expecting us to be reactionary on everything. And
Yeah,
that's essentially, I'm going to look for this primary document where it describes essentially how black women um became attached to this issue during, the 1800s of the right to vote. And
mhm.
it's kind of bizarre. It's
Hmm.
kind of bizarre because it this the way that white people, and you have to understand, were we actually making this appeal that we were so downtrodden, right, in our communities, in our relationships, that we saw that the only way that we, now mind you, we have been in slavery, right?
Yeah,
But somehow in our communities, in our communities as freedmen, we are somehow so downtrodden in our communities, in the construct um of what we considered hierarchies. Like, we were just, I find that to be the most ridiculous thing. And I feel like all of that shit was manufactured.
of course it was.
And so here we are, here we are, a century and a half, something like that. I can't count. My math is off. I'm a better writer.
It's been almost, yeah, damn near 2 centuries.
Damn near 2 centuries. And so we just, like, we don't investigate. We don't investigate. And I always implore, I love black women. I can't help but to love black women. I've been raised
Yes,
by black women, right? I
indeed,
mean,
indeed.
I know them. I have been rocked by several black women, been on, some, as an adult, sitting
Mhm.
on my grandmama's lap, being rocked.
Yeah,
Um, so I love black women. I adore black women. Um,
me
and
and you
this is
both.
probably, yeah, and this is probably why these conversations are so important to me, because I want us to
Yes.
be happy. I want us to have loving relationships. I want us to be cherished, right?
Well, we get
But
we get there by doing what we're doing. Black men and women got to talk. We
we
gotta,
gotta
that's
talk.
why this is a beautiful thing for you to come up with these topics and lay them out. And then, I'm following. I want people to understand I'm following your lead. Doing this podcast, and so, this is, as it grows. This is what it has to be. I mean, so we just have to figure out how to get more people to jump on board while it's live, because we get a lot of people who are looking at it and checking it out and even commenting after the fact. But
Hmm.
I want this to grow so that we have a large audience here on the website, the whole shop. So that's why I say, I'd spend a little money to, really make it happen, and may have to do some things outside of Facebook, because this is such a racist, oppressive
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
environment. So we're
Hmm.
going to build on YouTube as well. It's funny because I was looking at the comments on YouTube the last show when I did my 4 Hour Brothers
Hmm.
podcast. I had some real nut jobs within the YouTube comments. Well, just now we had a couple of people. I think it was probably some, yeah, well, they were definitely white, and I blocked them. But I'm just like, so white folks are coming, fuck with us when we're doing something, but
Right,
we
right. You don't want to, damn, you don't, we can't even talk. Like,
can't even talk. They
can't
want to
even
come in and
talk.
interrupt.
They, you
So,
know what? they are fascinated with black folks.
Oh,
Like,
absolutely.
you
Always
know,
have been.
always
Always have
have
been.
been.
And
And
it's
it's
okay. You can watch, don't touch,
don't
but you can
touch.
watch. It's okay because I'm gonna
Leave
do
us
my
alone.
thing whether you
Right.
looking or not.
Just don't touch. And
Just don't touch.
and so we have to continue to talk, and our viewers, future viewers, current viewers, you have to know that this is nothing but love. And
Right.
and I'm not
Regular
coming to
love.
anybody as I ain't got 15 letters behind my name.
Right.
I don't have any of that. I'm speaking from my own personal experience. I speak so much as a mother of black sons. Like,
Yeah.
let me put that out there. So much of what I do every day, and the way that I carry myself, and the way that I present myself to the world, and the way that I interact with black men, so much of that is about my black sons, and the fact that what I want for them is for people to receive them, right, in the same way that I extend myself to other black men. Like, that's what
Yeah.
I want. And that is, and that's parenting, right? That's another form of parenting. And
Yes.
as black women, particularly those of us who are mothers, I think it's really, really important to ask ourselves, are we doing right by our sons? Right? Are we
Mm,
doing right by our sons? Because
mm.
you can't have an attitude about black men ain't shit and you have black boys that you are raising.
In your
It doesn't,
home.
in your home, it doesn't work that way. You cannot
Yeah.
have that aura and think somehow you can compartmentalize it. You know what? You got to have like a whole lot of other stuff going on to be able to do that kind of disassociation. And
That's
like
right.
it just and kids are smart. Kids are
Absolutely.
smart.
They know.
They know.
Yeah.
I
They
mean,
know.
my sons think that I'm a little on the nerdy side. They're not always, they think I am, what they call too nice, because there's always the friend that shows up for everybody. They kind of get tired of it, because they're like, that kind of affects us too, mom, because it might mean we have to do something. But
Right.
what's interesting is that my sons have, they always tell me that they know that I love black people, hands down. Like, hands down, black men, black women, black children. And so, um this what we're doing, this is all about that love.
That's
i
right.
I want to see, because we you talk about the course correction and the systems correcting itself, and we are that system, and we can do that. We have done it, we have done it, we have done it.
And we'll
But
do it again.
we'll do it again. But I also know, like, this is what's needed, right? If we
Yes.
are ever to really, and this is why they attack this, like
Yes.
this thing, meaning the connections between black men and black women. That's
Yeah.
why they attack it. That's why they put their all into it, to make sure that it dysfunctions, is because
That's right.
when we come together, right? Because we don't give a shit about this fucking country. We don't,
Right.
like it, like, we know we built it, and that's that's like almost like a phrase, but we know that we built it. Like, we
Yeah.
understand that black men are responsible for the infrastructure of this country. We know that
Absolutely.
without a
On
doubt,
our backs.
right?
Absolutely.
We know that, right?
Yeah.
And we also know they outnumber us, right? So we ain't trying to take over their states. The fuck, we
Right.
just, all we want are our communities and our households to be safe, and we can create that for ourselves. We can,
And we need to. We
and
need
we
to
need
like,
to.
yeah.
But we cannot do it if we have contention, if there's that chasm, if there is a disconnect. if we are so separated that we can't even have conversations with each other, if we are so separated and so contentious that a 1950s article about
Can set it
welcoming
off.
your home and creating peace and harmony in your home by tidying yourself up, tidying your kids up, and making sure there's no clutter in the house sets us off.
Sets us off, and we can't even have an eye to eye.
Can't
Well, I'm
even
glad
have.
we had this discussion,
Me
and
too.
for the people who are going to watch afterwards, like it, share it, share it, share it prolifically. You share memes and videos of people getting hit in the head, or bending over, busting it
We got
open.
and we got to talk about that too with all
Oh
these
yeah,
memes. We got to
oh
talk
no doubt,
about that.
no doubt.
Yes.
So let's set up the next one. Maybe let's do Roe v. Wade, and
Okay.
then I mean, there's so much, there's so many. Let's just make it
Yes.
happen. But thank you,
Okay.
sister. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you, warrior. I
Yes,
appreciate
yes,
you.
yes. So
All right.
until the next one.
Until the next time. Peace and blessings. Peace and
All right.
blessings, white folks.
Peace.